top 3 mistakes to avoid when starting out in OFM. So the 3 tips I'm going to go over today, things to be aware of, things that you can implement straight away when you're starting out. So I know as a newbie, you're overloaded with information and you just don't know where to start or what to avoid. And I don't want you going down the same rabbit hole that I was chasing when I started out. So getting straight into it, number 1, ignoring red flags. Ignoring red flags with models, ignoring red flags with employees, and other various red flags that can come up on your journey, which can really detriment your progress. For models being slow in her responses to you, if she's slow in uploading content after she's signed, she's always making excuses about why she can't make content, she's not making content up to the standard that you need to, there's always something going wrong in her life, etc. You gotta accept that people do have personal problems. However, when they are empty excuses, and you can see straight through the bullshit, don't waste your time with these people. You're there to help people who are serious about OnlyFans to get scaled up and move fast within their business. To business, it's not just like the girls on OnlyFans and you're there managing them for no reason. You're there to help scale up their accounts, make them the most cash possible. So if they're being disrespectful in not replying, in not keeping up to date with the work required on their end, you've got to remember you're on a revenue split. So how that's going to work is the work that you put in and the work that they put in is both equaling the same result at the end. If they're not putting in any work and you're on a revenue split that's half, essentially the work rate needs to be matched on their end in order to scale up and achieve the results that they want. You're not gonna be able to do that by yourself, fully agency dependent, unless you're running certain traffic methods, of course, then you can't be on some of the splits that you are because it wouldn't be profitable. So that's a few things to watch out for in terms of models. One of the things that you have to look out for when you begin scaling is your employees too. Things like with your chatters, when you're getting them trained, if they're not showing up to shift, they're giving bullshit excuses why they can't show up to shift, or they having too many power outages, or the spelling is horrible. These are little red flags you have to be cautious as you begin to scale with chatters, for example. It's all gonna fall back on you. You're there representing the model on their behalf. So if a chatter's on there making spelling mistakes, not abiding by guidelines, trying to sell meetups and these stupid things, it's gonna come back on you and you're gonna have to explain to the model why that's being said in chats, etc. You just don't need that. So always avoid at all costs early red flags in business. Another red flag is actually when you're going to pay for information and get mentoring of somebody, for example. Here, you need to understand that a lot of people in this game are purely making their money based off mentorships, guides, courses. You need to fact check whether they are actually making the money that they say they are online. I myself actively make all of my income from the agency. So it's only right that because we've been able to do this for over a year straight, that we help and give back to the community on helping other people scale up their agencies. It wouldn't be right that I just sit here and gatekeep all of the information that I have access to and that I'm currently implementing with my agency. Another red flag to look out for is who you're actually going into business with. Oftentimes I see duos, most likely friends, go into business and they realize shortly after they started that it isn't actually viable for them to run a business with their friend. Either their friend isn't actually as committed as they said they was when they start out, they're not getting the task completed. That's why when I was starting out, me and my business partner essentially had some strict vetting of each other. As things started to scale up, we both had to be there on the front line, day in, day out. And if one of us wasn't, it would have quickly shown and cracks would have prevailed. Here's some little tips and tricks that me and my business partner had to do. We had to do late nights, early mornings. That was just a prerequisite, that we had to do that regardless. Then also we would have some other things that tested us, like certain model situations where times got hard, money situations. That's another thing that people always fall out over, money. Me and my friend now even owe each other thousands, but it's okay because we trust each other now. We're at that stage. Go and lend your business partner £20. And if you can't even get that back within a day after one message, or if he doesn't give it back promptly without you even have to go out and ask him, then yeah, cut off that relationship ASAP. So that was a few red flags that I want you to avoid when you're starting out in the OFM industry. So another mistake to avoid when you're starting out is trying to master every single traffic source and run every single traffic source for your model. You're only going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, I think the saying is. You're not going to be able to run viably every single traffic source for her if you don't even know them yourself. So this is going to lead me on to my next point, but I'll touch on that in a minute. When you get started, you need to look up what's actually working in the industry at the moment. You already know from my last video, Instagram Reels are absolutely going crazy at the moment. What you have to understand is, in OFM, you need to jump on these waves quickly because they die out. For example, everybody was on TikTok last year, but that eventually dried up and died out. But if you was there early and you jumped on the wave as quick as possible, you've been able to rinse out the massive traffic flow that it brought through to all of the OnlyFans accounts. So for example, now with IG Reels, you need to make sure you jump on that and stamp on it because otherwise it might just dry up soon and then you'd have missed that opportunity completely. You have to be aware of what's working, what you have available to you, and what you can actually consistently run based on the time and attention and effort that you have between your team at current. Likely when you're starting out, you're a lone soldier or as a duo, like I said. There's very minimal times people start out in trios or big teams. I wouldn't suggest that also because your splits are going to be horrible at the start. But you have all the other traffic sources like Twitter, dating apps. I don't suggest getting into dating apps if you are starting out. I see a lot of people saying that they want to get into dating apps as soon as they get into OFM. They think it's this agency dependent method where they can run up insane cash, but they don't know the back end of, are you beating these dating app softwares which are constantly worked on by devs, constantly getting patched week in, week out? Unless you're a super geek who's able to crack the code every single week and stay on top of it, you're going to be struggling, chasing your tail, trying to get a method that works, paying for a method that works, which only works for about a week. And then you're just going to be stuck out of pocket and wasted so much time when you could have been mastering other traffic sources to begin with. So for example, you might become an absolute beast at IG Reels. However, if you put that time and attention and effort into DAs, dating apps, you might not see as good results in a short period of time. This can obviously be demotivating. You can think that OFM is just a complete scam. In reality, we all know OFM isn't a scam. It changed mine and a lot of other people's lives for the better. This is going to bring me on to my last point, and this is the biggest mistake to avoid, I think, in OFM and outside in the real business world, is simply not putting the work in. I want to say that again. The biggest thing to avoid at the start of your OnlyFans management career is not putting the work in. It's a lot of work when you start out to get things scaled up, to get models signed. You will run every part of the business. You are the marketing team, the recruitment team, the manager, the sales team. You literally have to wear every hat. You think about all these big businesses, they have delegated roles for each of these aspects of the business, but you have to pick up every single hat to start. So don't be afraid or shy of putting that work in to begin with. You've got to remember, you're probably going to be a complete noob with some basic information, hopefully. Unlike me when I started, we just got in the field and learned as we went on. I don't advise this either. I suggest getting access to some information on how the entire business model works, because otherwise you're going to be there failing. And if it wasn't for me failing so fast, I wouldn't have been able to be in the position that I am today. Again, so this goes back to the second point with putting that work in. So when you are there, learning about different traffic sources to apply for your model, you need to put the hours into learning and dissecting that traffic source so you can viably run it with confidence and that it works. Every part of the business you need to know and fully understand, because that's when you can actually get to scaling. You can't outsource or delegate something that you don't fully understand, because you won't be able to do a good job at teaching the next person about it so they can then run it as like an organized system. So as it stands for the last point, don't be a lazy fucker. So this was just a quick video covering some of the mistakes I advise you to avoid when you get into OFM. Now these are some I wish somebody told me at the start as well, so I could gain that insight and get to working on the right things as quick as possible. As always, it's your boy Money Mace, and I'll catch you in the next video.